Yeah, that's a real stamp. Right?
Alrighty, guys, welcome to Animate with Everyone's Animator. I am everyone's animator. It has been an heck of a journey so far where we've been able to understand character animation using Adobe Animate. In this tutorial, we'll be talking about block poses. Block poses mainly means where we rough sketch the necessary action poses we want our character to do, corresponding to the voiceover. So to say, I have been able to create a voice sample for our character design, which we'll be using that as a case study as we move along in the course from now on. Kindly support me by subscribing to my channel, and you can click the bell icon so you get notified when the next video drops, and also spread the gospel around to other people you know that might be interested in this course. Enough of all the talk, let's get to it.
Alrighty guys, this is the phase where animation actually kickstarts on the full scale. So the first thing that we need to get done before even animating is a plan. We need to have a plan as regard knowing what it is we want to animate. What is the planning for animation called? This is what we call storyboarding. Now, storyboarding is a particular course on its own. This is not a course on storyboard. I might create a tutorial on that later. But for this class, I'll just be going straight to the storyboard I've been able to create so we understand what we are working on. But moving on, let's listen to the voiceover so we know what we want our character to do.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button. Yeah! Ouch! Yeah, my head.
Looking closely into this storyboard design, you'll see that there's a lot of correlation to the voiceover we had. So we have the first part where our character is holding up a remote with a big button, and then we see him click on the button here. So while he clicks on that button, his head pops up and then bounces on the floor, and then he tried to walk over to pick the head, and then mistakenly for him, he kicked the head over off the screen. So this is basically just a form of a thumbnail, or this is what we call storyboarding in animation. So I've been able to just rough sketch the necessary poses I want my character to portray in the final animation. So we can see him standing holding the button, then he clicks on the button, and at the same time the head pops out, and then he tries to walk over to get his head back. This is basically planning for animation. I don't see a case where you want to animate and you don't have a storyboard or an animatic. You need either of these two to guide yourself in order to know what you want to animate. So now that we've been able to have this storyboard all set up, let's go to animate and then have them redrawn in a much better way, following the right proportion of our character, and at the same time arranging them on the timeline so we have our full block poses ready for animation. Now we've been able to understand what our character is saying. We know what our character will be doing corresponding to what he's saying. What we need to do in Animate now is to bring in the voiceover. There are many ways, obviously, but let's just work with this one way. We go to File from the option menus. We go to File and then down to import, and then we can see we have two different type of importing styles. We have import to stage, and then also we have import to library. If you import to stage, that means you import whatever it is you are bringing in into your camera, which is where your workspace is. But if you say import to library, it will import whatever it is you are importing into your libraries panel right here. So for this case of our voiceover, we can just do import to library. So let's go to File, import to library. Then we can quickly locate where our voice is. I can just come here, character voice is wave file, and then I click open. So now it has loaded up into my library panel. As you can come here, you will see we have character voice wave file. Now we've been able to have our voiceover in Adobe Animate. The next thing to do is to create a new layer, and then we call that voice. So you can just double click on layer 2 and then you call it voice. So this is where we'll be moving our voice over into. So we can always just come to our library panel and then click on our voiceover, drag it over onto the stage and drop. So once you drop it, you look down onto your timeline, you will notice we have a kind of like a pinkish or a reddish line, which is the waveform of that voice. So what we need to do now is just to pull out our frames to see the whole of the wave. So let's say I can go to about let's try 10 seconds first. So select for both layers, so for layer 1 and layer 2, which is voice and boy, right click on that selection and insert frame. So you see there's nothing here, so we can pull back. So this is the part where the voice ends. So the voice ends somewhere around 7 seconds. So we can get rid of from frame 8 down to 10. So just select everything around this part, click and drag over, right click and remove frame. So now we have a complete frame 1 to 8 where our voiceover covers. Now that we have all this set up, the voice and the boy, the next thing we need to do now is to do a little quick text blocking. What I mean by that is you can create another layer now, and then we call this block. Press enter. So I can lock every other thing except for the block layer. So what I'll be doing here is I'll be typing what I want my character to do at a certain point in time. So to say, at a particular point in his dialogue, I want him to do certain things, and at some point I want him to do certain things. So this is just for me to plan ahead what I want to be rough sketching, instead of me just to be thinking it while I go. So I can just quickly pen things down as I move. So listen closely to our voiceover.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button.
We can know that it says something like, now watch what will happen if I press this button. So as an animator, which you are basically your director, so you decide what you want your character to do at some point in time. So you're basically the actor, so you can decide, okay, at this point I want him not to do anything, at this point I want him to do this, at this point I want to do this. So for me, judging basically my own director sense, I feel this first line I want him to still be holding the button, not to do anything. So I can just come to layer 1. I'll select layer 1, come to my properties panel, and then where I have label name, I can just come here and type boy standing while holding button, then press enter. So automatically, if you look down your timeline, you'll see that we've been able to type here boy standing while holding button. So I play again.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button.
So I feel at this point where he said if I press, I want him to raise up his finger ready to press the button. So I'll create a keyframe here. At this point I'll select this keyframe, right click, insert a keyframe. So same process, I'll come back to my properties panel, and then I'll type what I want him to do here again. I'll say raise finger, enter. So we can see now at this point raise finger. So once he raised finger here, at this point I want him to press
This button.
So press this button, then he press. So at this point create another keyframe, F6 for shortcut, then same thing again on our label, alright, press button. So now that he has pressed the button,
Yeah.
it makes the sound yeah. Then at that point of yeah, I can say insert a keyframe, and then head falls on the ground, enter. So we already know with our storyboard and then our dialogue, we see that once he pressed that button, that's when his head pops up. So the idea is the button is what activates his head to detach from his body. So immediately he's pressed the button, his head automatically detaches from his body. So it's not like it's gonna die, obviously it's a cartoon, but it's just the funny part of it. So I know that the same keyframe that serves as press button is also the keyframe that serves as his head popping up, probably just few frames ahead, so we can just move on along with that. So now I have head falls on ground. The second part where we have the ouch, we can have that to be where he mistakenly kicks himself in the head. I think so. Yeah, let's have it like that. Anyway, we can always change these blockings as we move along. We can always change them. It's not as if everything is fixed. As we move along, you might feel like, okay, the timing is too fast. We can decide to adjust, obviously. So at this part, let's say kicks head. So enter. So now I have kicks head. So if you play through now, you can see boy standing while holding button, raise finger, press button, head falls on ground, kicks head. So these are the quick block text blockings that I've been able to do, so I can understand that okay, these are the things I need to sketch while I'm sketching. So if I'm just sketching, I don't really need to think too much of what do I want him to do here, what do I want him to do here. So all these text blocks have been able to give me a quick quick direction ahead. Next step now is to go to the main thing, which is the actual rough sketching. So I can create a new layer again, you can place it anywhere, then we call this roughs. So in this roughs now, as you can guess, this is where I rough sketch the main body pose for our character. So I normally use a brighter color for this, white or red, just for me to rough sketch, so I can just trace through my character very roughly. So I'm not really paying attention to the main body proportions or body shapes or size. I just want to have a ghost version of him. But in this case, he's not going to be standing like a robot, so obviously. So I'll be making sure he's standing in a much better position while he's holding the button. But in this case, we need to also be going back to our storyboard to review, and then to just see what we have there, because basically that's our first plan before we come to having this our text blocking. So make sure you are checking through your script, your storyboarding, and also your text blockings while you're doing all this, because those are really the main purpose why you add those plans. So I can adjust this leg, I can decide to leave it anyway, but let me adjust it, let me turn it the other way around this time around. So once again, I'm not trying to make sure it looks too perfect, I just want to have a quick rough sketch of him so we understand what it is we want to do and what our character really looks like. And again, you might not really need to rough sketch everything, because if some other parts of his body are in the right position, don't bother too much about making them look too good. So I can have this, then the neck, I don't really need to bother too much about that, and that is that. So once we've been able to have our first rough sketch, now we can hide our main character, which is boy, so we can see our rough sketch. Then this is what we will use throughout the whole journey of rough sketching the main keyframes. So I will skip to the future where I've been able to create all these keyframes already, then I will just explain furthermore on what I've been able to do. But just to quickly reiterate, what I'm doing basically is just rough sketching what I've been able to type out: raise finger, press button, head falls on ground. Pretty much what I type, I'm just drawing them. That's just what I'm doing.
Alrighty guys, welcome to the future. So I've been able to rough sketch all the necessary rough sketches I feel I need as regard the text block I created, and also do a little bit of timing so that I can quickly see ahead how I want the whole motion to shake out. So let's just review what I've been able to do. Now watch what will happen if I press this button. Yeah! Ouch! Yeah, my head. Once again. Now watch what will happen if I press this button. Yeah! Ouch! Yeah, my head. So block poses is as simple as that. You just have to rough sketch quickly what you need your character to do. So with this now, I've been able to understand that okay, the first thing that needs to move now is just the right hand first. So we are moving the right hand, moving the other hand while the leg stands still, and then the head face down. And in this part, the head falls down. He makes a gesture of what, and then he tries to aim for his head while mistakenly kicking the head further away from him, and so on and so forth. So that is just what it is in block poses. So block poses are simple as that. So this can be more complex in a case if probably your character has a much more detailed voiceover or dialogue, if whatever you want to call it is also called a line, a dialogue, or a voiceover. So it can be more complex in those angles, but for this case, we had to keep things simple and straight, so we can always just follow along with what it is. So in the next class, we'll go straight into lip syncing and facials. So that is where we can now have our character to talk, do all sort of gesticulation in his head, to go in corresponding to this kind of blockings we have already been set out. Mind you guys, so don't forget, the project file for this particular course will also be made available for us to download, so you can check out the Google Drive link below in the description, and then download it and see for yourself in real time how I've been able to arrange my timeline and also getting all my rough poses cleared out.
So guys, that is all we have for today's class. Sure, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and that bell button, click on it so you will get notified when the next class drops. So until next time guys, keep being a dazzling artist.